Hello friends, greetings from Tegama again on this 25th day of March. It's hard to keep track of the days with these weird schedules. Every day sort of blurs into the next. Very similar, my schedules these days. Maybe yours are as well. Well, it's the 11th day of quarantine here, and there's news as always. Today Spain has passed China in the number of deaths, which is almost 3,500 officially. The States is now third in number of cases and sixth in number of deaths. And in the last 24 hours, last 48 hours, many countries have followed the examples of Italy and Spain and others and have locked down their citizens. Perhaps one of the most significant, but one of the most shocking is India, with 1.3 billion people supposed to stay at home. And again, we don't know what tomorrow holds, but God does, and so we trust Him. And we're thankful for that truth that we can rely on. Well, today, the Bible character today is Uzziah. And many of you probably know his story well, but I'd like to read some verses and go over some of the facts of his life, and then bring out a few observations, lessons we can learn. I'm going to read out of 2 Chronicles. His story also shows up in Kings, but in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, the Bible says, 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Jechaliah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. And then I'm going to jump on down to verse 16, where it says, "But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. For he transgressed against the Lord his God, and went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense upon the altar of incense." Well, this story definitely has a quarantine. It ends with a quarantine. It's a very sad one, but we can also learn from it. Uzziah's name means "the Lord is my strength." And he sort of has two names. His other name is Azariah, used in Kings. It might be even his primary name, we're not sure. But it means the Lord has helped. And that idea of God being strong, or God being his strength and God helping him, it's exactly what happened in his life up until that specific moment in the temple. He reigned 52 years, which is the second longest reign of any king in Judah or Israel, only surpassed by Manasseh, who I believe reigned 55 years. Now this guy was quite a guy, this Uzziah. Would have been an interesting fellow to know. He was a fighter. He fought the Philistines, the Arabians, the Ammonites, and a number of other ones. And I mean, everywhere he went, he wiped them out. So he was quite the fighter. He was also a builder and a designer. The Bible says he made all kinds of weapons, defensive weapons, offensive weapons, machines that, hurled huge stones and arrows, maybe piles of arrows, I don't know. He built towers, and so he really strengthened the military of Israel. And so, but he was not only a fighter and a builder or designer, he was also a man of agriculture. He loved agriculture. He had tons of livestock. He built vineyards everywhere. He dug wells. And basically the Bible just says he loved the ground. He loved the soil. So a man of many talents. I'm sure, very intelligent. A lot of energy. Curiously, he had a spiritual advisor named Zechariah. Now, this isn't the same Zechariah as even in the last devotional, I think it was, and others. There are any number of them in the Bible. This one is one who appears just in the life of Uzziah. And the Bible says that he listened to him, and he sought the Lord under the guidance of Zechariah. And during that time, then God prospered him tremendously. It appears that it was about 40 years into his reign, 52 years, 40 years into it, his power and wealth and fame went to his head. And one day he decided, you know what, the countries around us do this, and I've gained enough notoriety, enough power, enough importance. I'm going to go into the temple and burn the incense myself, like a priest. So he went in there, and that was the worst decision of his life. What a sad moment. To make a decision like that changed the course of his life in a tragic way. The priest, Azariah, faced him with 80 men. The Bible says they were courageous men. I don't know if they were priests or Levites or who. And he rebuked the king inside the temple. That's quite a standoff. Well, that only made him angry, and he was furious. He lashed out at the king and those 80 men, and he had the censer in his hand to burn the incense. And as he did that, it apparently God made a blotch of leprosy start showing up on his forehead. I don't know if he felt it. I don't know, but I have a feeling that he was facing these men, and all of a sudden he notices they are all staring at him, but at his forehead, and maybe he goes to touch it. Whoa, what's there, you know? And it shocked the royal pride right out of him. And he instantly and submissively allowed them to usher him out of there, get him out, expel him out of the temple. And they put him in a house all by himself. And he lived there until he died, quarantined because of his leprosy. Wow, what a story. What a unique story. Well, there are some lessons that we can learn, many, and I just want to highlight a few, and you could add to them, I'm sure. But God has given us talents. Maybe he's given you many talents. And maybe you're using them and just being faithful in using the different abilities that God has given you for ministry, for his service. Be careful with unbridled ambition. The temptation for me to, you know what, I'm going to expand more and do more, but outside of God's will. Maybe even encroaching on ministries of other faithful men of God. There's various ways in which this can happen. But we need to be very, very careful. When God prospers us and helps us to grow strong, God said he grew strong. When God helps us to grow strong, that it not go to our head and, you know, produce something as serious and drastic as this. We have to be very, very careful with our own heart, our own mind, inside God's blessing. Another lesson would be to keep good spiritual advisors nearby. Have quality friends close to you with whom you communicate, and pay attention to them. How important it is to have good friends. While he had the good friend, Zechariah, he did well and prospered. And then we should not think that we are indispensable to God or his work So much so that we can sin and get away with it. That's a dangerous one. It's a dangerous one. God can do just fine without us. He does not need us. Never has, never will. But He delights to use us if we're humble and obedient, faithful to Him. What a story that of Uzziah. I want to finish with a verse. You know the verse, I'm sure, probably, if you've been in church any number of years or in the Lord any number of years. The verse says, in the year that King Uzziah died of his leprosy, doesn't say that, but we know that, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and His train filled the temple. Words of Isaiah, beautiful words, powerful words, eternal words with an eternal lesson. No, God doesn't need us. And eventually we will pass off the scene. Hopefully not the same way Uzziah did. In the sense of a direct consequence of his sin. But when we do, God's program won't stop. God will still be high and lifted up. Totally in control. Absolutely a part of everything that's going on and bringing glory to Himself. What a tremendous way to end the story, really. It's Uzziah died, but God was still alive and powerful. And so from his quarantine or his life living up to his quarantine, we can learn these lessons, and I trust we will. So wherever you are today, God bless you. Be faithful, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.